Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Lighthizer, thank you so much for the 2 hours of your time you've given us and the job that you're doing. The problem I've got is, after 2 hours of listening to a bunch of members of the Senate, it's pretty hard for me to say anything that's going to be memorable for you to take home. But I came up with something about 5 speeches ago. I'm going to talk to you about the 4 C's of trade in Georgia. Ready for this? Cars, cans, cinema in China, and chickens. Got that? Cars, cans, cinema in China, and chickens. I know it does, doesn't it? Cars and cans obviously are big products in our state. We're an agricultural state. A lot of food is sold, processed and sold in cans. A lot of beverages, soft drinks are done in cans. The 232 tariffs have been tough. You've heard me talk about this before. Do you have any idea? I'm hearing concerns that they're going to be replaced by some type of quota, or replaced by other types of burdensome expenses, or just increase themselves. Do you have any idea of the longevity of the current treatment of 232, or whether we can expect to be able to compete without that type of burden?
So thank you. The cinnamon, I have to confess that that's memorable now. But I guarantee, when I think about chickens and I think about cars, you're one of the ones I think about. So that I can guarantee. And there are a couple of others on this committee who I also think about. A lot on cars, but a couple others on chickens. So I would say the President's view is, and I share this view, the 232 tariffs on steel and aluminum are working, are necessary, and I would say particularly in the case of steel, we would be in dire straits if we didn't have them. Those industries would be very vulnerable. Having said that, it's a legitimate question as to what we're going to do with respect to Canada and Mexico, which I think is the core of your question. You raise this issue of quotas. So the question becomes, how do you relieve the burden of tariffs on steel and aluminum on Canada and Mexico and still maintain the integrity of the program? So there are a variety of tools that are available to that. One of those tools is that you put in place an historic quota so that the product can come in under the normal course, not pay a tariff, but that Mexico and Canada won't take advantage of the program in a way where all the benefit of the program goes to them instead of to the U.S. And all I'm saying is I think there's a sweet spot there. Quotas are not necessarily good or bad. It depends on the level of the quota, right? If the quota's at the right level, it's not troubling for your downstream people. If it's the wrong level, it's very troubling. So what I'm trying to do is just have a practical solution to a real problem, and that is to say, get rid of the tariffs on these two, let them maintain their historic access to the U.S. market, which I think will allow us to still maintain the benefit of the steel and aluminum program. That's more or less what I'm trying to do, it's something that we're working on very hard at this point.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate your attention to how much we care about chickens in Georgia. And I'll add one other factoid about China and chickens. The Chinese people, the Asian people love the feet. Americans hate the feet. If we open that, they'll get those markets more open. We'll get a product we're not getting any money for in the United States. We'll get a lot of money for it in China and Asia. It'd be a good thing to have. So that's one thing to keep in mind.
I appreciate that. I was aware of it. And if we have a deal, and it's by no means certain, there's a lot of important things that will have to come into place for us, the chicken farmers will be happy if we have a deal. That I can guarantee.
And lastly, on China and cinnamon, and that's cinema, not cinnamon, but cinema. That is like movie cinema, motion pictures. Georgia is where most of the motion pictures produced in the United States are now filmed in Georgia. It's a huge industry in our state. In China, since 2012, there's been an agreement in China and the United States that the United States would pay 25% to the Chinese for the movies they produce, and China gets 75%. I want to just see if you've heard of any talk of renegotiating our position on that, or that agreement at all in terms of motion pictures.
Thank you, Senator. I apologize for mishearing you. Yes, I'm aware that an awful lot of movies are made in Georgia. Somebody brought that to my attention. It's sort of an abnormally large number. It's a big, big industry there. And yes, we are currently in the process of renegotiating that split. What we have right now is a very unfair situation. There are some related issues that we're working on too, but the split is probably the most important thing to the producers, to the MPAA, and it's something we're actively engaged in right now with the Chinese.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your service too.